started. So, we'll keep it much more conversational in nature, right? We would not focus a lot more on presentation, right, or the content that I have, correct? And we do have, a larger theme that is, available for the session. We'll try to stick to that theme, but we'll spend a lot of time, on taking up questions, right, or any doubts you guys may have. Cool. So we'll get started. So I think your North Star metric, right, or the goal that you have in your current UG college, okay, that is the first thing you want to figure out. Okay, number one, it can be okay. I want to go for a job from campus itself, right? Or maybe you might have to try for off-campus placements, depending on how the placement scenario and the market scenario is at your college, right? Number two, you may want to go for higher studies. Either you would be appearing for CAT. Some folks, they might want to go for GATE exam, or maybe for an MS abroad, right? And even when you guys are focusing on jobs, right, I would want you guys to have a better clarity on whether you want to get into the technical domain of the branch you're pursuing, right? Let's say if you guys are doing computer science, okay, you might want to get into a software engineering job, right? Or if you are a mechanical engineer, you might want to get into design or maybe production engineering, right? Or similar job families which are more related to the subjects you are studying currently. Or you could go back, into non-tech jobs, right? Which would be, your data analytics, business analyst, some consulting roles, which might open up in your campus, right? Or maybe, non-engineering, non-business related, you guys could get into marketing or sales, right? Depending on what kind of companies are coming to your campuses. And some colleges, they might offer, limited finance or trading roles as well, right? So all those options are available to you. So the first and the foremost important thing that you must do is that what exactly is that you want to do after your 4 years or 3 years of graduation are done, right? And once you have that goal in your mind, right, you start preparing a roadmap for it. Okay. Currently, our focus area is, how do you exactly build your profile? How do you crack your placements? And then, how do case competitions also help in that? Okay. So, number one, if you want to set for campus placement, if that is a priority, right, always go backwards of CV, right? Because CV or your resume is something that will be presenting to the interviewers or for the shortlisting for those companies, right? So what I've listed over here is that these are some areas which should be typically part of your CV, right? And your job is to identify any gaps in each of these areas and work towards them, right? And for some type of job families, some of these sections would be much more important, right? For example, we'll just discuss each one of them, right? So number one, right, education and academic achievements. So your 10th, 12th, and your undergraduate grades will mostly cover it up, right? But if you still want to display your academic side of things, or maybe focus a lot more onto your quantitative ability, right? You can put up any projects that you may have done, any Olympiads or any competitions, quiz competitions you might have won, right? Next would be your internships and life projects. So whatever domain you want to get into, whatever job family you want to get into, definitely you must have relevant internships or life projects, right? If you are not able to get those, then definitely get in touch with your college professors. Try to work out on an academic projects. The last resort over here would be to put up your college projects in it, right? For example, your major and minor capstone projects, right? They definitely should be part of your CV. It should go into a separate bucket, because your discussions will mostly revolve around these projects, right? Next is a spike bucket. So though not really much relevant for your traditional core jobs, right, would definitely help you if you're applying for consulting or other non-tech jobs, right? A spike bucket essentially means a single area where you have excelled, right? It could be sports, it could be case competition, it could be social work, right? Next is your academic projects, which I've already covered, right? Depending on how many academic projects you have, or if your academic achievement section is weak, you can either keep it as a part of it or you can keep it separate, right? Next is position of responsibilities, not a priority area for core jobs, but a priority area for your non-tech jobs, right? Similarly, extracurricular activities and skills and certifications, right? So now you have to be very mindful of the kind of skills and certifications you do, right? Try to understand what kind of jobs are opening up in your campus for your seniors, right? Try to pick out a few companies, understand what the requirement from their job description is. And if you feel that, okay, this is a relevant course I can pick up, it could be any programming language, it could be any data analytics tool. You might want to, get into SQL because that is something a lot of companies would be asking. Anything related to AI, if you are into finance, courses related to it, right? Or if you're into digital marketing or marketing in general, right? Any additional courses related to it, which are traditionally not taught in your curriculum, but will help you, give you an edge over your batchmates, right? And it would be better if you could work out on a project, right? There are a lot of courses which are available, which come up with a sort of a live project, or if you could build something out of your own, much more relevant to computer science students, right? If you're able to build something out of the skill that you have learned, you're demonstrating it in your CV, then a large part of your interview will revolve around that, right? So try to take a note of these areas, try to introspect what kind of jobs you exactly want, right? And what are the areas in which you are lacking in terms of your CV, so that you tick off each of these buckets, right? So this is first sort of homework that you need to do, right? Number two, let us understand how does a typical interview scenario would look like, right? We'll be talking much more into general, we won't go much into specifics, right? So number one, you need to prepare your resume, right? So we have already decoded what exactly needs to be in your resume. Number two, a lot of companies, they would be shortlisting your profiles, right? Now it could either be a resume based shortlist, right? Or it could be a shortlist based on a test which company would be conducting, or it could be a shortlist based on your GPA, right? A mix of all three, would be applicable depending on the company. So number one, first thing, a lot of companies would be asking you aptitude. Number two, a lot of companies would be asking you technicals, right? Technicals could be programming in case of software engineering related jobs. It could be a SQL test for data analytics, or it could be a course on your academics for core branches, mechanical, electrical, production, civil engineering, right? So these areas, would be covered in your test which companies would be taking. So it is upon you to prepare for that, right? Alternatively, limited set of companies, they would like to take case-based exams, right? So for that, you can refer to any case book for, from any of the IIMs or any of the DU college or IITs, right? Consulting case books, right? That would help you prepare for it. Okay. Lastly, some of these companies, they might want to take a psychometric test, which is nothing but assessing your personality, right? So a lot of sites are available where you can take demo of the psychometric test. Okay. So that is the first step, where there is a CV shortlist, maybe based on your academic criteria, and then they would like to take a test, right? The next step would be multiple rounds of technical plus HR discussion, right? So in technical, a lot of conversation will revolve around what exactly is in your CV, They would ask you to explain some of your projects, right? Or number one, projects in case of, if you're applying for a software engineering job or a core, let's say, plant based or a, design R&D based job, right? Or maybe, construction or civil engineering related job, right? They would definitely want to discuss your projects. So make sure you have them on your CV, right? And you're able to explain end to end what exactly was the objective, what problem you were trying to solve. And lastly, how did you accomplish it? Right? Next, there would be a lot of academic questions, right? They could, ask you to explain any academic concept which would be relevant, right? Since I come from, mechanical engineering background, right? In different companies, I was asked to, explain a lot of thermodynamics concept, right? Concept related to machine design. Okay. So you need to be very well prepared with your academics as well if you're eyeing for a core, core job. Okay. Next would be your consulting or non-tech job. A lot of your interview will focus on problem solving, right? You would be given a small business caselet, right? And you're expected to break it down into smaller parts and provide solutioning for it, right? Major focus area would be on problem solving, how exactly you are thinking, how we are breaking down the structure, and how we are focusing on it, right? Lastly, they may ask you to write a SQL code, right? Or maybe, code in a programming language, depending on, the company and the role you're applying for, right? So this is, a much more generalized sense of what you're expecting in your interviews. Lastly, there may or may not be a HR round where it would be ask you, what exactly your motivation are when it comes to, your entire career, right? Why exactly you want to join this company? Okay. Uh, what exactly, would be your strength or weaknesses, right? How do you exactly deal with stakeholders in a job? So have relevant examples, right? Position of responsibilities, help in that. Lastly, one more tip, from my end, a lot of us, don't like to ask questions, right? But it is very important for you guys to ask a lot of questions in pre-placement talks, because I've seen, I was part of placement team in my undergrad college. So I've seen, a lot of recruiters coming back to me asking names of specific students who had asked some questions, right? And they were given a direct shortlist. So, I mean, it is prominent in some companies, or at least, the recruiters or the hiring managers, they will be able to remember your face. Okay. So you are able to earn some brownie points, if not getting a direct shortlist. Okay. So try to make sure that you're reading a lot about the company, about the domain it operates in, and you're asking relevant questions, right? That is really, priority number one for you guys, right? Researching a lot about company and the industry it operates in. Also, it is a good practice because once you, start working in corporate, right? Asking questions becomes your, bread and butter, because you will have limited set of time to work with your stakeholders, right? So you must be very well prepared with a list of questions you're going to ask them, right? Because time is, very crucial over there. You can't keep asking for meetings again and again, right? So keep this practice of, researching beforehand and asking questions wherever possible, right? Let's move to the next section, right? We'll directly, jump much more into case competitions. Okay. So number one, I'm someone, who prioritize doing case competition a lot during my MBA. And now the trend has, shifted to BTech and, BCom students, BBA students as well, right? They're also appearing for a lot of competitions. Now these competitions would be much more relevant to people who are eyeing non-tech roles, be it business analyst, be it, any consulting companies that are opening up in your campus, uh, or alternatively, students who are, working into core jobs, right, or software jobs, right? They can alternatively work towards, hackathons. There are competitions available which are looking for a tech-based solution, or maybe, um, production design, smart city design, right? which are very domain agnostic, but somewhat still related to the work you are doing, right? There would be competition related to, manufacturing, right? Or civil engineering or design in general, right? So based on your skill set, based on what type of roles you are looking for, you need to prioritize which competition, you'll be looking for. So there are limited platforms, which provide you list of these competition where you can apply as well, if not coming directly, to your college. These are largely Unstop, grad partners, and inside IIM, right? So these three platforms are there where you can look out and apply for case competition, right? So the idea is very simple. Number one, you get a lot of cash prize, right? So individually, I have won, around 7.5 lakhs through case competitions. Number two, some of them they would come up with PPIs and job offers, right? And lastly, everything that you're doing, whether you're winning, you are getting a cash prize, you have received a PPI and maybe a PPO. All of these, they add up to your CV points, and definitely, trust me, it helps you stand out a lot amongst your peers. So a lot of shortlists that I was getting during my MBA, and I mean, from what I heard, from my mentees in BCom and other BTech colleges, right? Especially the IITs or other top engineering colleges, a lot of these case competitions, they do make a lot of difference, right? Even as a recruiter, when I have been to campuses for hiring, right, I do give some brownie points while shortlisting or while taking interviews, right? So in one of the interviews in IT Roorkee, I ended up discussing a very interesting case competition problem, right? The same happened with me while I was appearing for interviews, right? So this is sort of, a large benefit that case competitions provide. Okay. So number one, I mean, the idea is fairly simple, right? How exactly you win a case competition, right? You need to form a very highly motivated and highly complementing team, right? So that you can pick up someone who is good with technical, someone who is good with numbers, someone who is good with aesthetics and presentation making, right? So if people from different set of skill set, they come together, and they should sort of have a cohesive bond, right, which is keeping the team together. So make sure your motivation levels are same, and you guys are together in it, right? That is number one. Number two, you need to build up on your problem solving and your case analysis skills, and a large part of it comes from practice. When you start appearing for more and more case competitions, right, you will start inherently developing this skill. Okay. And trust me, I would not recommend you guys to rely a lot on AI for initial level of problem solving. If you guys directly put your prompt, your case as a prompt in GPT or Claude, right, it would give you a high level solution, right? I would not recommend you guys that at all, right? I would want you to focus on reading the case first, understanding it, try use your own brain, and then later on, while you are at a L2 or L3 level, use AI to enhance different aspects of your problem solving, right? I'll later on give you some examples as well. Lastly, the important part is how exactly you're building your solution and how does your presentation comes in form of a storyline. Okay. So these are three areas you need to focus on if you're eyeing or want to get into case competition. Okay. I'll skip this slide. We have mostly covered this, right? So you need to, figure out the right people you'll be working with, right? Try to work with a different set of batchmates of you, and depending on what skills other people are offering, you need to offer complementary skills, right? So this is how you need to figure out and build a right team for you. Next, we'll deep dive into how exactly do you solve case competitions, right? How exactly you go about problem solving and building that solution. Okay. So number one, the first step you have to do is you need to read a case very thoroughly, right? And try to understand about the company, which it could be a fictitious company, it could be a real company. So you try to understand what exactly that company is doing, what priorities that company has today. A lot of it may be AI. So you get an idea that, okay, this is an important part of the company today, and I would want to bring something out of it into my solution, right? Just to give you example, let's say a e-commerce company is prioritizing AI, right? So you'll try to figure out, okay, where exactly can I use AI in my solution, right? So that it would solve the problem statement that has been given to us. Or maybe you're faced with a company that has a history of acquisition, right? So you might also want to recommend that okay, this is a kind of startup you would want to acquire, and this is the multifold outcome you will get out of it, right? So this is why it is important to research deeply about the company and the industry it operates in, the primary industry it is operating in, right? Once you're done with reading your case study, you need to highlight what are the important areas in that case study and what are the questions that are asked, or what is the expected outcome that is there, right? And then you start breaking it down into multiple themes, right? For example, let's say a company wants you to build the entire logistics strategy, right? Basically, how do they enhance their logistics, right? So then you start breaking it down into different themes, right? One theme would be, okay, I'm starting to diagnose how exactly the current scenario for that company looks like. Then another theme would be, we will analyze what are some developments or what exactly my competitors are doing in the same field. Next would be more towards solution building, right? Okay, now I've identified problems, I have identified the best practices. Now I start building solution, I start giving recommendations. Maybe one more slide, could come into, okay, how are we going to use AI, or how we are going to use data analytics to enhance that logistics, end-to-end logistics experience. If needed, if you see that, okay, there is a lot of M&A happening in that space, you might also want to recommend acquiring some tech layer or a smaller logistics player to help you build out your end-to-end cohesive strategy, right? So this is how you break down your expected outcome into different themes, okay? And then you go out and research deeply into each of these themes, right? Wherever needed, you might take reference from any existing frameworks. You can now over here you use AI, right? The earlier part you're doing it on yourself, right? Now you start using AI, right? That, okay, I have to diagnose logistics of a company, right? Or I have to diagnose growth strategy of a company. Is there an existing framework that can be applied over here, right? Or maybe you reference to different case books or your academic material to help you understand what frameworks exactly can be used over here, right? So either you build that own structured approach, you break down that theme further into sub parts of what topics you need to cover over there, and then you build your own framework, or you use something which is existing or mold it into your required structure, right? Next would be conducting some primary research, in-depth interview or expert interviews, and doing some secondary research if required, right? A lot of companies, they would appreciate, right? Going back to the first point, right? You need to understand what exactly are the principles of that company. There are a lot of companies which are very user first. Basically, they would want to listen to what exactly customer feels about the company and the solution you are proposing, right? So that's why primary research becomes very important. So this is essentially something which helps you on brownie points as well. That, okay, you have built a solution, but you also went into market and you tested it out with the audience. That, okay, what does the customer set feels about this solution you are proposing? In a lot of cases, you might not be having a direct customer. You might want to uh, grab a few people from LinkedIn, try to understand their views, maybe talk to your professors, right, or your alumni working in the same field, and understand what do they think of your solution, right? You can portray that as a expert interview by shadowing their names, making it anonymous, writing it, okay, we talk to a production engineer in an automobile company, right? Or we talk to a VP of consulting in some company, right? So this is how you portray it in your final decks, right? Once all this is done, right, once you have identified what exactly you need to do, right, these are all the aspects we'll be covering in a presentation, then you start putting everything down into slides. Okay, this first topic is broad enough, it goes into slide number 1. These next two topics, they can be, they're very complementing in nature, I can put them in the same slide, right? So your limiting resource over here is number of slides that you have, right? And how many people are working on it. Okay, so basis your storytelling, right? You start, you get an idea what goes into, which slide, and how many slides you guys are making. And then, you can distribute between your teammates depending on their own skill sets, right? Now it is upon individual POCs of each slide to do their own research to create that particular slide. And you guys can get back together and sort of collate everything and make sure everything is very coherent and is consistent, right? Maybe one of you can take the initiative of deciding the entire aesthetic and design language of the slide, right? That would be helpful for everyone. Okay, so this is how you'll start by reading a case study to creating the solution out of it, right? The important part is, in my experience, how do people earn brownie points? If you're able to bring a lot of consumer insights or a very creative, or how do we say it in Hindi, right, a hatke idea, right, into a solution. Number two, it is a must, your solution must be very comprehensive. You must answer everything that is asked in the solution, right? Basically you are covering everything in the expected outcome, right? Some brownie points which I have personally earned, right, would be that I'm aligning my solution to company's vision, right? In case it is required, you might do detailed financial analysis or number crunching, right? Let's say if you are proposing reduction in logistics costs, right? You might have to do some number crunching out there, right? How exactly you're proposing that cost, how you're arriving at that number, that would be needed. Next, research-backed solution. It could be a secondary research, or if you're doing, primary research or some expert interviews, well and good. Lastly, either using through appendix or within your slides, right? You need to identify where you guys are using, what logic sort of you have used, right? Now, one part which I had said I'll cover later, right? How exactly you use AI to enhance your solution, right? For example, you have been given a company which is supposed to enter, right, a different market. Now you have to go and identify that market. Okay. Now the ideal way to go for it is that you would have to understand, you have to get a lot of data from these different countries, right? So what will you do? Simple, you will try to define factors on your own, or maybe with the help of AI. What are the factors which you will evaluate before entering into a country, right? It could be a software product, it could be a a physical or a consumer product, right? So you need to understand what factors would be there, you'll evaluate, right? So basic factors would be legal situation of that company, right? Macroeconomic factors, what is the population size or the target customer size that is available in that country, right? In case you need to set up an office or a manufacturing over there, right? What sort of raw materials, resources, manpower, etc., right? Depending on what product, what company you have, you'll define those factors, and then you will feed it into GPT, right? You will ask GPT, okay, compare all those countries available, right, on these factors, assign them a score, right, on each factor, and then give me a consolidated score as well. And you will have a benchmarking sort of done across different companies, countries, right? And then you'll have a clear winner as well, right? And then you could pick up 2 to 3 of those, and you can tell, okay, we did a very comprehensive research or in-depth research on all these countries that are part of our target set, and based on these factors, these 3 are the clear winners. So this is our recommendation, right? We will enter these countries to set up our manufacturing, or maybe to launch a mobile app, right? So this is how you use AI to enhance your solution, right? Not directly jumping using the entire case study, putting it into AI, right? But just to enhance some part of your solution, so that they look very logical and very data backed, right? So that is how you exactly use AI. Okay. Now, I have a lot of, frameworks, etc. available. If we start discussing everything, right, we'll be sitting here for 1 or 2 hours more, right? So I think what the organizers of the this event will do, they'll share this across you, right? I have listed down a lot of frameworks that are basics, right, which you need to focus on, right? A lot of different type of strategies that are there, right? Some basic understanding of different type of cases that are there, right? GTM strategies, these are standard cases, right, that may be asked to you in case competitions. Growth strategy, GTM, market entry, right? Country and industry analysis. How exactly do you cover it, right? How are you making entry decisions? Okay. How exactly do you enter in a country, right? What modes do you use? What sort of execution do you do, right? NPD framework. Okay. So all these are there, right? You guys, need to take some time, right? Understand, okay, each of them, and this will sort of help you not just for your case competitions, but at a very basic level of problem solving that may be asked to you in your consulting or your non-tech interviews, right? So before I start verbally discussing, I don't have a deck for it. How exactly you need to be very corporate ready. What exactly you need to do, right, to survive in corporate. Right, we'll take up a few round of questions on what exactly we had discussed earlier, right? Then we'll go to the second part of our session. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. Guys, any questions? Cool. If nobody has any questions, right, I'll just uh, directly jump forward. Okay. So I think number one, while you're in a corporate job, okay, uh, your you need to again understand what your end goal is, right? Is it a company or a domain that is to your liking, right? Do you wanna build your career into that, right? Number one. Number two, uh, you can either maybe exit from that company, go for higher studies. It could be a MBA, it could be a master's in India or abroad, right? Some of you might take that path after you're done with your few years of work experience, or you may want to switch to a better company in the same domain, or maybe go to a different domain altogether, right? So that is the entire idea you need to have, right? And the end goal for you is that, okay, am I getting paid enough, right? How do I get much more appraisals? Okay. Or how do I switch to a company? What sort of skills do I need to build up, right? So number one, I'll list down a few skills that would be very necessary, right, for you to work into corporate, right? So number one is your problem solving skills. Okay. So how exactly will you develop your problem solving skills, right? So in your company, right, there would be your day-to-day tasks, right? Or you may be assigned a special or some sort of short-term project, right? So there exactly you'll be using your problem solving skills, how you are breaking down that problem, right? And how you are doing a GTM, a go to market for that particular problem statement. Okay. How do you build it? Number one, a lot of it will come from what you have already done in your UG, what sort of competition or what sort of problems you have picked up and solved, right? Apart from that, there are a lot of supplementary, books or courses, you can take up, right, to help you build that, right? Number two, very important would be stakeholders, right? How do you manage them, right? How do you prioritize them, right? and how exactly you deal with them, right? So it totally depends on the scenario you are in, the type of company you are in. Okay, and it comes from learning, right, from experience. Okay, the only thing you can do is try to participate in a lot of extracurricular or PORs that you have in your college, right? That will give you a fair idea, or maybe it could act as a simulation for you. Next, maybe you could seek mentorship from your seniors in your corporate life, right? Or your reporting manager, your mentors, or your coaches, right? They will help you understand, right, what different stakeholders you have and how you'll be dealing with them, right? And then there is always a personal aspect to it, right? The kind of spock or POC you'll be dealing with uh, goes much more into psychological depth, what sort of person they are, how exactly do you motivate them to get your work done, right? Next is being light speed. Okay. What essentially do I mean by light speed? That okay, you need to get your work done on time. Okay. Again, you have to work very goal backwards. Okay, this is a goal. This is a problem that I have to solve. This is something I have to achieve. Develop this product, build this feature, right? Go goal backwards, right? Break it down, right? And identify what would be the bottlenecks, or what exactly is something that could go haywire and delay your project, right? So sort of much more into project management skills. Okay, you learn it on the job, right? Maybe there would be some experiences in your college that would teach you the same. Apart from that, a short-term course on project management on any online certification website would definitely help you guys, right? Next would be extreme ownership. Okay, so the simple idea is that your reporting manager or your leadership team, they should not be someone who have to follow back again and again from you, right? You need to be on top of everything, right? You need to be knowledgeable. You need to have an end-to-end understanding, so that whenever asked, right, you display extreme ownership, that okay, this project is something that is owned by XYZ person, right? And whenever we ask anything, he's up to date, right? And important aspect would be keeping your stakeholders, keeping your guides or your mentors, or your project leads in the loop every time with updates, right? Maybe you set up a weekly connect with them, you drop a small ping in the project group, right? So this is how you display extreme ownership in your corporate, right? Would definitely be relevant for you during your internships, right? Since a lot of you are in your second year, right? Apart from that, a general sense of understanding of what exactly you're doing. So you need to be very well prepared with the domain you are entering, right? So let's say you prepare beforehand, just talk to your peers, your alumni, right? What kind of company it is, what are some tech stack, right? Maybe there are some design tools, some programming languages, right? A bit of AI that you need to understand and learn, so that you are well prepared before you enter into your job or your internship, right? So I think in my experience of 5 years, right, these are five key skills that I feel everyone should prioritize, right? And I think if you are ticking all these boxes, you definitely would be a top 10 percentile employee, and that would come with better appraisals, better bonuses than your peers, right? We'll again break for questions. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask? It could be anything. Okay, I have a 2 year gap before my UG. Will that hurt my change in consulting as analyst and consultant after MBA? I don't think, so see, you already have a 2 year gap, right? And currently you would be part of some UG course, right? So I think the most important thing that you must do right now is that make sure you don't get any other gap after your undergraduation, right? So I think your priority should be right now to make sure you have all the right inputs for you to get a job, so that there is no gap year when you want to pursue your MBA, right? I don't think it would matter much while appearing for campus placements, right? there would be a slight hiccup, but again, often companies would neglect if you're appearing for MBAs, right? Be it MBA interviews or MBA placement, right? It won't hurt much, but make sure you don't have another gap after your UG, because then again it becomes a consistent trend in your profile. Okay, gap after 12th, gap after your UG. Okay, so make sure that does not happen. Any other questions, guys? So you're about to commence your MBA program. Where will you be doing your MBA from? So I think okay, Alliance University Bangalore, cool. So I think number one, what you need to do is this deck will be shared, right? You can refer to this deck definitely. Number one, start building, start networking with right folks. Okay, building your team is very important. Number two, you need to really focus on your presentation skills, right? Uh, Try to learn PowerPoint or Canva, right? Or maybe you could refer to presentations of previous winners. If you would go to my Unstop profile, you'll find my own case competition presentations, right? Refer to them, try to build an understanding what is expected out of you and how the same problem has been put into a solution, right? That is step number two. Then you start working and learning on basic frameworks, right? Refer to any IIM's case book, right? That is a bare minimum. Lastly, start reading and understanding business deep dives, right? So consume a lot of business news. There are a lot of platforms available which provide you business deep dives. It could be in form of articles, case studies, or YouTube videos, right? Start consuming them. They will give you a very good understanding of what exactly happens in real world and how companies are solving problems. That would be a good starting point for you to attempt case competition. I think BCA is a 3-year course, right? So I think freelancing would definitely help you in your placements. Okay. So just try to map out what kind of role you are looking out after your BCA. Okay. Understand what skills would be needed, right? Build up on those skills, and then try to pick up freelancing in those only, right? So you will actually be demonstrating those skills and also experience. So I think your placement journey in that way would be a much more smoother ride. Yeah. So as I mentioned in start, right? I think apart from case studies, definitely prioritize getting a internship, right? If you don't have already, okay. Try to figure out it online. Try to figure out from your some of your connects, right? Relatives or people your parents or relatives may know, right? Try to get an internship through them. Internship would be much more valuable than doing any online courses. If you're not able to do that, then as I mentioned in start, right, go very goal backwards, try to prioritize some courses which would set you apart from your batchmates, okay, for that particular job family. I think in general sense, BTech may be preferred, right? But definitely there are a lot of companies, hiring BCA candidates, okay? So I mean, also, honestly, depends on what college you are from, right? What is the placement scenario and how the reputation of your, uh, college is. But still, if you're able to build up on your skills, okay, and if you're able to demonstrate those, and I think cold reach out on LinkedIn and maybe building a profile on Naukri.com, and your overall resume will definitely fetch you a job. Okay, which branch are you part of, Ankita? Is AIDS a college or a branch? Is it AI and data science? So, irrespective of, what college or branch you are in, right? I think this was the entire focus of our session today, right? Okay. I think you are in the hot spot, right? You have the right academic background needed for a lot of jobs today. Okay. Just try to figure out what companies are coming to your campus for placement, or what companies are going to be hiring freshers next year, or whenever you're ready for a job after graduation. Okay. Try to study those JDs deeply. Try to find some connects over there. Try to understand what do these companies look into your profile, and from that take it as a North Star metric and start building your profile backwards of it. Right now you understand whether you need some additional courses, you need some more internships, or any skill that you may need, right, to get that job. Okay, so that is how your entire roadmap for anything has to be. Figure out what is your goal, and then what are the inputs to that goal, and start working and prioritizing those inputs. I don't honestly, I don't think there is still a lot of focus on any AI tool that you need to know, right? Because I think none of these companies in MBA, right, would be judging you on your AI skills, right? But a general understanding of it, right? So you need to understand what companies, what sector that company is operating in, and how AI as an application is being used, right? So you need to know some, case studies or applications out there. That is more than enough. Apart from that, your generative AI, right, is something that would help you, enhance your MBA experience, right, by doing research in your college projects, maybe by creating your presentations, right? So try to understand what are the right generative AI tools that you can use, right? But the more important part is how AI as a framework works, right? And what is the key application in your target sector, right? So only that is more than enough. Cool. Any few last questions? Otherwise, we can just wrap up.
Okay, on the behalf of QuizCred, I would like to thank you, Weber, for taking the time to interact with your students. We truly appreciate your support and contribution. And thank you for all participants for joining us today. We hope this session has inspired you to take the next step in your career confidence and stay connected with QuizGrid for more such learning opportunities.